We're gonna be breaking down all of Genos' forms in One Punch Man. Everyone's favorite cyborg goes from pathetically weak in his first form to casual Saitama level in his strongest. First up, we've got human Genos. As far as we know, he lived a pretty happy life with his family. According to One, Genos' personality wasn't all that different from how it is these days. But when he was 15, a monster known as Mad Cyborg attacked and destroyed his town. Genos lost his entire family but somehow managed to survive the destruction. Before his injuries could kill him, Genos was found by Dr. Kuseno. Apparently, the doctor was there to chase after Mad Cyborg. A bit suspicious, but Genos trusts him, so it should be fine. Genos begged Dr. Kuseno to turn him into a cyborg too. Once that happened, he decided to fight for justice and vowed to one day get his revenge on the monster that took everything from him. Next up, we've got stock model Genos. After becoming a cyborg, Genos spent the next 4 years killing monsters and crushing evil organizations. He was about high A-class level here, but he didn't manage to get any closer to finding Mad Cyborg. He also got his piercings during this time. At this point, Genos mostly attacked with his signature move, Incineration Cannon, a superheated beam attack from his palm with a range of several hundred meters. A single blast was enough to totally destroy the House of Evolution's headquarters, along with the top of the mountain it was on and a bit of another mountain in the distance. Genos' body has many sensors. Some are active, while others are passive. With them, he can scan his surroundings, detect other life forms, anticipate projectiles, and notice anything strange, like not being subscribed to plot armor. With his eyes in particular, Genos can pick up on heat signatures, assess energy readings, and analyze speeds. Once he's locked onto someone, it'll be very hard for them to hide from him, even if they're using a smokescreen. But when you're dealing with someone as fast or as strong as Saitama, all those sensors become pretty useless. Some things are just too unimaginable for tech to handle. Genos' legs were specifically designed to support his high-speed mobility. They even have a shock-absorbing mechanism to reduce the time between landing and continued motion. We have no idea how much of Genos' body is still human at this point. My best guess would be his brain. Because of this, he doesn't really feel much pain at all. He can keep fighting and stay conscious even after his limbs are ripped off and he's suffered terrible injuries. He even withstood one of his own incineration blasts being thrown back at him. He's one of the hardest heroes to keep down. Genos' core is what powers his entire body and all of his abilities. It's a nuclear reactor that he usually keeps within his chest. It can actually record everything happening around it, even without Genos being alive. By overheating his core, Genos can trigger a self-destruction sequence. It's deadly enough to destroy nearly everything in a 3-mile radius. And even though it's supposed to be a last resort, Genos thinks about using it pretty often. Moving on, we have Genos Mark II. This is his first upgrade in the series, but since he gets it pretty much immediately after his first appearance, it's mostly just a cosmetic change. He trades the robot cowboy look for some goth designer and replaces his old arms with shiny new silver ones. With them, he gained access to Machine Gun Blow, a flurry of rapid fists that's strong enough to tear a cliff apart. Shortly after, there was Genos' Anti-Saitama mode. This form of Genos was equipped with Anti-Saitama tactical arms, which is a very cool name, but it's not like these things were tailor-made to work well against Saitama. After all, Genos still didn't know much about him. He assumed that Saitama could fly and that a giant meteor would be able to kill him. Really, these arms just gave him access to maximum gauge Incineration Cannon, which is a more destructive version of his usual beam attacks. At this level, Genos was immediately accepted as an S-class hero, but that was mostly because the Hero Association learned that he destroyed the House of Evolution's building. Based on that, they assumed he took out all the monsters on his own too. He also got a perfect score on the written test, proving that he's not just super strong, but really smart too. Now it's time for Genos Mark III. This form came after his fight with Saitama. He didn't actually take any damage from Saitama, but what he learned seemed to call for a change. In the anime, Genos has a move called Lightning Eye. It produced a flash of light meant to blind his opponents. And even though this isn't in the manga, Genos has been shown to use his eyes as a flashlight in a bonus chapter. With Boost Attack, Genos uses his left arm for jet propulsion in the opposite direction. After that, he moves towards a target and kicks them hard with his left leg. Genos' pain tolerance is still extremely high, but based on his expression after being hit by the Deep Sea King's acidic spit, it's not like he's totally numb. When Genos first moved in with Saitama, he came along with a massive backpack. Inside, he had daily necessities and parts. Thanks to this, he's able to handle most bodily repairs on his own. He only really goes to Dr. Kuseno's lab for the sake of major repairs, examinations, or a drastic upgrade. Genos also comes equipped with arms for chores. These are non-combat arms tailor-made for handling household chores. The power of his incineration blast is reduced to a calm breeze that's perfect for drying dishes. His right hand even comes with a built-in vegetable peeler. During this time, Genos gained access to Arms Mode. This prototype weapon is presumably an upgrade of his Anti-Saitama tactical arms. By pressing a button on a suitcase and throwing it ahead of himself, Genos is able to trigger a Sentai-style upgrade. With it, Genos is able to move his core from his chest to the bicep in his left arm and concentrate all of his power into a single blast. Which brings us to Genos Mark IV. After his fight against the Deep Sea King, Genos' limbs became detachable from his body and connected thanks to a cable. At this stage, Genos would have been able to defeat Mosquito Girl and even a wet form Deep Sea King pretty easily. But 2 hits from Carnage Kabuto in his regular form would have still been able to crush the cyborg. Genos Mark V was a stolen upgrade. After he defeated G4, Genos used the Battle Robot's technology to enhance his own power and speed. He also gained fiber enhancements that made his hair heat and shock resistant. When Genos fought against Speedo Sound Sonic, the two of them are moving faster than the speed of sound, which definitely reminds me of another Sonic. But to someone like Fubuki, it looked like they were teleporting. Genos battered a monster even faster than his blood could travel. After fighting Sonic, Genos' approach to fighting became more strategic. He even equipped himself with adhesive gel for the sake of trapping especially speedy opponents. Using as many enhancements, Genos is able to test, distract, and assess his targets more effectively. And it's thanks to this precision that he's able to determine the right amount of strength required for any given encounter. And it's with this form that Genos gained access to electricity manipulation by way of High Voltage Fist. But Genos Mark VI is even crazier. After taking a beating from Goketsu, Genos was rebuilt by Dr. Kuseno with strength in mind. To Garo, Genos' physical strength was comparable to Tank Top Master's. And that guy was able to stop a robot with the height of 50 stacked elephants. It's with this form that Genos' limbs become truly detachable. They can operate remotely and return on command. They also receive capture wires for the sake of immobilizing targets. With arm blades, Genos becomes much deadlier in close combat. But since his arms are detachable, they're scary from a distance too. Thanks to the rocket boosters in his legs, this form lets Genos deliver devastating kicks, namely Jet Drive Arrow, which also incorporates his shoulder boosters. This one was strong enough to break one of Elder Centipede's teeth. His Incineration Cannon was upgraded to Spiral Incineration Cannon. According to Murata, it's only after receiving this upgrade that Genos will be able to deal any damage to Senior Centipede. But Genos takes this a step further with Super Spiral Incineration Cannon, a variation that sees Genos fire the blast directly from his core. It was enough to burn Elder Centipede's insides and force the creature to molt, but it wasn't enough to get the kill. Genos Mark VII is my personal favorite. It's an unbalanced form that heavily focuses on straight-up destructive power. And there's no way you can tell me it doesn't look the coolest. Genos wanted it to be like this on account of Saitama's suggestions, and it was exactly what he needed during the Monster Association raid. In addition to his palms, Genos receives beam emitters along his arms and shoulders. This lets him attack even when his hands are busy. And it seems like Dr. Kuseno was able to include even more of G-Force technology since the beams are now able to bend towards multiple targets. Genos' Lightning Drill Cannon causes a massive surge of energy to form around him in the shape of a dragon. At full power, its beams are powerful enough to one-shot a giant meteor like the one Saitama saves Z City from. That's something that the S-Class heroes Bang and Metal Knight failed to do. In this form, his Jet Drive Arrow was strong enough to crush G5, an upgraded version of G4, with a single hit, causing a massive explosion. According to Dr. Kuseno, Genos could only go full power in this form for a total of 10 seconds. Any more than that would compromise his core and kill him. With that final gambit, Genos used True Spiral Incineration Cannon. This one was strong enough to match and cancel out one of the biggest beams released by the Psychos and Monster King Orochi, Fusion. The attack's heat melted the armor around his core, and his arms were glowing white hot. His radiation resistance also showed us another level of resilience. Just being near Cosmic Fear Mode Garo was enough to knock out several heroes, S-Class included, and result in their deaths. But even without his arms or legs, Genos did not hesitate to fight. During the raid, we saw Genos' first cybernetic fusion. Tactical combination, Dragon King, promoted Rook. Genos and the S-Class hero Drive Knight were able to combine by coalescing their energy cores to maximize their power output. Genos gained a sort of battlesuit along with a really cool sword. Due to the circumstances, it didn't last very long, but the fact that it's even possible is pretty cool on its own. Genos Mark 8 brings his power to the upper S-Class level. After the final event of the Monster Association arc, Dr. Kuseno gave Genos his greatest upgrade yet. This form was specifically made to fight against disaster-level dragon enemies. In only 2 months, Genos has gone from struggling against Mosquito Girl, a disaster-level demon, to annihilating the Forest King, a disaster-level dragon, in just a few seconds. The speed of Dr. Kuseno's technological advancement is pretty unreal. It's likely that Genos' data collection has helped with that a lot. With this form, Genos gained access to Lightning Core. It lets him create a super bright, blinding light from his chest. And speaking of bright flashes, Genos is now able to keep up with someone as fast as Flashy Flash in combat. It's possible that the S-Class ninja was holding back a bit, but it's hard to say for sure. At this point, Genos has become far more aware of Saitama's strength. Without even hitting the guy, he can already tell that his attacks would be pointless. This might not seem like much, but it is a level of awareness that pretty much nobody, not even the strongest characters in the series, seems to possess. Even when they recognize Saitama's power, they fail to realize that nothing they do will hurt him. But as a testament to Genos' own strength, when he stopped his punch short in front of Saitama, he managed to produce a powerful shockwave. One that was pretty much identical to the result of Saitama doing the same to him at the beginning of the series. Back then, Genos couldn't see himself ever coming close to that level of power. And now that he has, he's so focused on the gap between them that he doesn't realize how far he's truly come. But he's not the only one who's been overwhelmed by the reveal of Saitama's true power. Check out this video to see everyone else's reactions. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.